When threats emerge in the universe. When conquerors approach and the danger is high. When you have to face powerful rulers who want nothing less than complete control of the universe. Then you have to come together and work as a team. You have to dig deep, find your resolve and your courage. You have to understand your enemies and how to stand against them. You have to be bold, decisive, and brave. And you have to be ready to be part of the universe's most legendary defender. Then, when the universe needs you, you can form Voltron, the greatest hope of the universe. Coming to a role-playing game made by Catalyst Game Labs, publisher of acclaimed games including Shadowrun and Cosmic Patrol. Catalyst brings an all-new rule system that emphasizes the teamwork at the heart of Voltron, and also allows for awesome displays of power from the universe's greatest defender. Whether you want to play in the original Defender of the Universe setting or the newer Legendary Defender series, a core book will be available for your preferences to help you explore a galaxy full of adventure. While the core game focuses on the paladins who join together to form Voltron, you can play as other characters such as nobles, cadets, or members of the Blade of Mamora, spinning out galaxy-spanning stories that encounter all manner of planets, creatures, and possible threats. The dice core system, used in Voltron, the role-playing game, is easy to learn and use while providing great depth of play. As you roll a pool of 3 dice determined by your skills and attributes, your decisions and circumstances can make those dice better or worse, so what you choose can have an instant impact. Back now and join the fight to defend the universe.
There are 3 constants: cold, work, and the moan. First is an ever-present danger. The second is weapon to fight it. Third is proof our weaponism, that the tools we have built to preserve us from the ice and snow are keeping them at bay. The world we knew ended 10 years ago. The great frost descended and the cold never relented. There are no more seasons, no more warmth. Things we took for granted in our old life, food, trees, comfort, are difficult to come by. It is a hard life, but it is the only one we have. We go forward, day after day, driven by the same words that spurred us on since we migrated north. The city must survive. Frostpunk, the award-winning video game from 11-Bit Studios, is becoming a tabletop role-playing game from Catalyst Game Labs, longtime publisher of Shadowrun and Battletech. This society-building game pushes players to consider what they will do to preserve the fragile communities that they have built. Take on a variety of roles, from medic to engineer to hunter to explorer and more. See what you can do to build a society, confront crises, and overcome dangers of the continual cold. The choices you will face will not be easy, but they cannot be avoided. What will you prioritize? What will you value? If you keep hope in your people and reduce discontent, you can build a thing that lasts. But if things go poorly, people will let you know. You could find society crumbling around you and perhaps be exiled into the cold with no hope of return to warmth. Using the new Dice Core role-playing system, the Frostpunk role-playing game offers an easy-to-learn, fast-moving system that puts your character's decision at the center of any set and allows you to try and build and maintain a city that somehow manages to hold people together. Back now for your chance, an entirely new kind of RPG.
Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. Welcome back to Tuesday Newsday here. I'm Rem Alternis. I'm the Community and Marketing Director for Catalyst Game Labs, and I've got a real special guest with me today. I've got Kevin J. Anderson and Nikola
Nikola
Tesla.
Tesla.
How are you, Kevin?
This is an exciting day for me that we're going to be talking about. I've got two cool things happening both at once, not intentionally, just happened that way. But I have a brand new Kickstarter that launched with a new novel, a new collection, a new combat card game from Catalyst, and a new jigsaw puzzle. And I have a brand new book that just came out that's just got a rave review in New York Times yesterday. And like New York Times never reviews my stuff because I write like entertaining fun stuff, but they loved it. It's a cosmic horror thing, and anyway, we have a whole hour. We'll talk about each one of them, but
I'm
today
so excited.
is exciting, and every time I sit down for a Zoom call, Nikola comes up on my lap here and decides to be my Zoom buddy.
We do have one more special guest. Some of you may have heard a couple weeks ago, one of my dogs got sick. He unfortunately didn't make it. And he was my furry little soulmate. So my husband and I have been in the market and have Micah has just joined our family. So Micah's sitting with me so he doesn't scream during our show. Well, I'm excited.
We're like witches with our animal familiars. Right? That's what we have.
Druids.
Yes.
So I want to get right into the news for this week so I can maximize our time with Kevin. For those of you who don't know, Kevin is a legend. We'll get into why, but if
I exist, I'm real.
The myth, the legend. We're talking to ourselves here. All right, so a couple of news bits. So first of all, just want to shout out, if you haven't seen on our socials yet, prolific writer and battletech author Stephen Mohan passed away last week. Yeah, so we did a statement on Catalyst website. You should go check it out. But he did a lot for the battletech universe, and he's going to be sorely missed. Second, also sadly, it's been a rough week. These things are come in threes. Amber Cook passed away, and Amber used to work for Catalyst as like general manager and stuff. I never had the opportunity to meet her or work with her, but we're getting a statement ready to release to thank her for her time and her work and her efforts. But it's been a rough week, guys. Rough couple weeks. In more positive news, we have Kickstarters. So last week, the Kickstarter update apparently didn't make it out. Tyler was at VoltCon in Indianapolis, so just lost track of time and had to get the show running because it was him and our customer support person, CJ, that were running things there. They had a great turnout. Lots of demos were done for the Voltron RPG. I saw the question in the chat, so just keep in mind it's the new Netflix version you can get a book of, or the old 80s version, but no vehicles. So those are your options for Voltron. And that should be, again, we got some approvals from NBC. They gave us a little bit of feedback, so we're tweaking that, then sending it to them again, and then we should be good to go live with the Kickstarter once we get that approval in. My Kevin J. Anderson update, because I've been talking about this for a couple weeks, that Dan Shamble Zombie PI Kickstarter is launching 4 hours ago-ish. So I'm going to drop the link in chat real quick. I'm going to do it a couple times today during the show, but I would love if you guys, while you're listening to the show, could go over to check it out and give it some support.
Well, we are almost at double our funding goal in 4 hours. So maybe by the end of this hour. So
not that you're clicking refresh every.
Well, we'll talk. You have my full attention, Rem. So.
Another quick update for you guys. I did get an email today from Jordan Weissman's team. I had him on a couple weeks ago talking about his Sea of Legends Kickstarter. And I did want to share with you, they have a little update for Halloween here. So they've refreshed the Kickstarter page with all new content and gameplay to showcase the game and the progress that's been made. In the spirit of Halloween, they're offering new skins for playable characters that's included in the Tier 2 digital extras, Powder Monkey, and all tiers above it on Kickstarter. Additionally, there's a second playable character that the user can choose at the start of the game, Captain Jack. There will also be they're preparing a community vote where backers will be able to choose the first of 6 additional playable captains that will be available on release. Each one would come with a skin if you backed at the Powder Monkey tier and above. So I'm going to drop that link in chat too. So please go support Jordan as well. Do all of your shopping while you hang out with us on Tuesday Newsday. All right. So I gave you guys the mercenaries. I talked about Tyler being busy and then distracted myself. So things are still shipping. Things are still arriving at the hubs and QML. So things are moving forward there. No starting for international yet until they get all those shipments. So we knew we would be waiting for a couple weeks. And then the update I got was we are for US, Canada, and rest of world that doesn't have the hubs. We are at 19,300 backer orders that are either shipped or the shipping label's been printed while the box is being prepared and just needs to be affixed and then shipped out. So in process and complete, 19,300, which means there's about 1,500-ish left in that region, which includes the short ships, the short stock stuff. So really close to the end for US, Canada, and rest of world without the hubs. And then we will be keeping you guys updated on international here as we get the news. All right, new releases. So this month, I've talked about the new releases for Overlords in Training. The Kickstarter is completely fulfilled. So it's now on the Catalyst store. So you can get Kenyon Bill's first board game. That one is a card game that allows you want to conserve your resources and take down your enemies a peg, or your other players a peg, to appease the ultimate boss, Mike, who is going to get stronger if you don't appease him by your violence against your friends. So, but the ultimate fight with the boss, Mike, he gets angrier and gets more powerful, like the Hulk. So check that out. Overlords in Training is on the web store at store.catalystgamelabs.com. We have the battletech 40th anniversary dice tray and the Shadowrun 35th anniversary dice tray finally are on the website, so you can get your store. I designed them along with the 35th dice set and the 40th dice set, so you should get all of them so that I can keep bragging to Lauren about how good I am at that and how great I did. So every time I get on a call and I hear how great they are, I do the hair flip. So help me out, throw some support at those. And then our new releases for the rest of this month. So on Friday of this week, the Field Commander's case, which is the minis carrying case for BattleTech. So it's branded BattleTech. It's camo, has the Velcro on the front, lots of storage, book space, everything. We released that, soft released that at Gen Con this year. That will be released on Friday this week. Force Manual Karita will be released Friday. The technical blueprints will be released Friday, and the Battlefield Support Deck Revised will be released Friday. So all of that goodness to come. If you would like to hear about the new releases, and also it's coming in November and beyond, you should join our mailing list. Go to catalystgamelabs.com, scroll to the bottom, and you'll see an email bar that you can join our mailing list at. And finally, PAX Unplugged. That's what we're gearing up for now. So it is the first weekend in December. So that is December, I think it's the 5th through 8th. It might be the 6th through 8th. I can't remember if it starts Thursday or Friday. So PAX Unplugged is in Philly. you should come hang out with us. And that's where we do all of our release announcements for 2025 that we're allowed to talk about. And we've started like collecting our list of what we're going to share, and we got some exciting stuff for you. So don't worry if you can't be there. We will be here on YouTube streaming through the whole thing, so you'll get the news too. So make sure to follow, subscribe, like, do all the things. All right, that's all the news. It's the Kevin show now. So Kevin,
but I have more news. We'll do more news. So.
Who are you? How might people know your work as I bring up a poster you sent me?
Well, they might have heard of something called Dune. Are you going to pull up that poster?
It is up.
Okay, well, boy, for more than 25 years now, I've been working with Frank Herbert's son, Brian Herbert, and we've written a bunch of prequels and interquels and sequels to Frank Herbert's magnificent Dune saga. And Frank left some notes for books that he had not been able to finish. And then we've spun off from those and written a bunch. And one of the ones that we did was a book, or a trilogy actually, set 10,000 years before Dune. And it's the origin of the Bene Gesserit Sisterhood, the Spacing Guild, the Mentat School, the Sook Doctors. It's how the Fremen start making their inroads on the desert planet of Arrakis after fighting for their freedom and all that. And the first book is called Sisterhood of Dune. And that is the inspiration for this new TV show that HBO Max is going to be showing. I'm not seeing the poster, but I'm assuming everybody else is seeing the poster.
Everyone else is seeing it, and they didn't even. You said something about the cast. I'm just gonna point you guys to look at the top right corner of this poster. They didn't even put the cast. They put the legendary writers behind the Dune series. So
that's based on inspired by, whatever you want to say. It's got our characters and some of the story in there, and it's the TV show. And that comes out on November 17th. You might also know me because I wrote a whole bunch of books for Star Wars now it's called the Legends, which is why I'm a legend. That's right, because I wrote Star Wars stuff. I wrote the Jedi Academy trilogy, and with my wife, I wrote the Young Jedi Knight series, and I co-created the Tales of the Jedi comics and all kinds of stuff like that. And I've written for the X-Files, and I've written a bunch of movie tie-in books and all of that. But I do other stuff too, and I've got my own hugely favorite series that I created called Dan Shamble Zombie PI. And we'll talk about that in detail, but it's basically like the Addams Family meets the Naked Gun. So it's a detective humorous series with zombies and ghosts and mummies, and you'll laugh so hard brains will come out your nose. And so there's that series, and that's what our big Kickstarter is all about for another one in that. And I just wrote a really big, epic kind of Lovecraftian science fiction, cosmic horror, really scary. If you like Alien, if you like Event Horizon, if you like Pitch Black, those kind of scary science fiction movies, that's what this is. And it is called Nether Station. And it just was released today, this morning. And as this was really funny because my Kickstarter started at 10 a.m. this morning. And I was sitting there at the Kickstarter. You know what? If you don't do these, you won't know them. But you, the guy in control, you're like Igor throwing the switch. You literally sit there, and when it hits 10 a.m., you push the button to go. So I was sitting there ready to push the button when the doorbell rang, and it was the UPS guy delivering my author copies of Nether Station. So I had a pretty exciting time. So let's talk a little about Dan Shamble. I got a couple of books here that I'll show up, and Rem can put up. So here's the first one, Death Warmed Over.
First of all, do you have the link to your space horror?
That's just Amazon, or in fact, I've got I'll put it in my chat. You've got a different chat.
Yeah, if you put it in our Zoom chat, or are you in YouTube or?
Okay. So there, I'm just in Zoom.
Okay.
So I put it in our chat. What I put there is wordfireshop.com. That's my personal store, and that's where I will sign every one of the copies and send them out to you. So if you wanted to order a signed copy, and it is just exactly cover price, so no extra charge or anything. So if
Awesome.
you want a signed copy, get it from there. If you want to order it anyplace else, it's wherever you order books. Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Mysterious Galaxy, any place that you like to get books. So
Cool.
so we'll talk about Nether Station because that's kind of got a cool, really cool story in it. And I'm busy writing the sequel to it right now, which I'll turn in by the end of the year. So
Yeah, let's talk real quick about your writing process because it's cool as hell. So how Kevin writes, explain this to us because I just love this.
okay. I have this little tool here called a micro digital recorder, and I go out walking. I live in Colorado. We have the most beautiful mountains and forests and waterfalls and lakes, and I kind of live in a forested area. So I just go out walking. I've done my writing by dictation for 30 years. I mean, like my entire career. That's how I like to write. I really can't get into the zone as much if I'm just sitting here staring at a screen and typing with my fingers. So I go out and walk. And in fact, so I'm trying to get the sequel to Nether Station done. And I've got the outline, and I'm like, I've got to write 1 or 2 chapters every day to stay on track. And today I launched the Kickstarter. The book came out. I'm doing all this promotion, and I ate lunch and I went, all right, I've got to be on Rem's show, and I've got like an hour. I can go out and do 1 chapter. So I took my notes and I went out walking around, and but then of course you sent me the link in the middle, and we're supposed to test the audio. I'm like, but I gotta finish this chapter. So I finished the chapter 1 minute before I logged on to here. I came inside and managed to sit down. So I download the audio file, and I have an AI transcription that takes my words. It's my words, and AI doesn't write the thing for me. It just takes my words on the recorder and puts them into a Word document, and then I edit it. Now, that has worked great for me. My writing productivity is incredible. I love having the excuse to go out hiking because then my office is in the mountains. And the disadvantage to that was on a hike in August, and I was doing a mountain climb, and I fell on the trail. It was the pouring rain. It was very steep, and there were rocks and roots, and the mud was kind of the consistency of Vaseline, and I slipped and I broke my ankle. So I broke my foot. I had to hobble on 1 foot with a broken ankle for a mile back to my car and get home. And so I've been in like an ankle boot for 8 weeks, and now I'm in this ankle brace. So it's a lot more slim and stylish. But I can at least go walking again. And I've been getting back in the swing of things and loosening up my foot and exercising. And
It's fun to watch. If you follow Kevin's fan page on social media, he does updates. It's really fun to see pictures of the mountains on his hikes, and pictures of the ankle brace. I know you were going squirrely when you couldn't walk. Uh,
it really cramped my style, just having to sit there in a Darth Vader boot and just be like on the back porch and dictating. It's just not the same. But anyway, that's how I'm writing. So now I'm 2/3 of the way finished with Nether Vortex. It's the sequel to Nether Station.
awesome.
And the ending of Nether Station, it's a literary term. If you've taken like college English courses, you might know the term. All the shit hits the fan, and then I have to get them all out of it, and it's just going to be 2 books. So we'll wrap it up there. Well, we're talking Nether Station. Why don't I go ahead and just go into that one?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I read Weird Tales was one of my things when I was a kid. All of the Robert E. Howard and H.P. Lovecraft and the weird sword and sorcery stuff, and the Cthulhu mythos and the elder gods, and the creepy cosmic horror stuff. And so Weird Tales, they started a book line, and this is one of the first books that they post. See the Weird Tales Presents there up on the top. And they asked me to write a story that was kind of the Weird Tales brand. And I just like, oh man, that's like saying, here kid, here's a candy store. What do you want? And I started thinking, I really thought that there is a need and a readership for like dark science fiction horror, that kind of thing. Because look, I wanted to I was reading science fiction since I was a kid. I wanted to join Starfleet. I wanted to seek out new life and new civilizations and boldly go and explore everything. And that's exciting. But if you think about it, space is pretty damn scary too. It's big and it's dark and it's empty and it's full of the unknowns. And that if you fall forever in whatever direction you're going. And it's cold and lots of mysterious things out there. And it's just ripe for the kind of horror. And just think, if you're kind of isolated on a space station at the far edge of the solar system where you can barely see the sun, it's just this bright star down there, and you're hundreds of millions of miles away from the nearest person. And uh, it's kind of like being stuck in an Antarctic research station, but a lot farther away. It's just like offers opportunities for great things.
Cool.
And so another station we've found, they discover a wormhole at the far edge of the solar system, like in the comet edge of the comet cloud. And wormhole is not this big bright signal beacon; it's just kind of a little blur in space, but it could be a passageway, like a shortcut to Alpha Centauri. So if you want to go to another star system, you just go up there and then go through the wormhole. And so this big, well, I based him on Jeff Bezos, but everybody compares him to Elon. Kind of this big bossy, richer than God, can do whatever he wants, and decides he wants to set up like this nether station outside the wormhole. He wants it to be like Grand Central Station so he can control all the passage through, but they have to test it first. And again, I'll use a literary term, weird shit starts to happen. And the wormhole may not just be a shortcut to Alpha Centauri. It might be like the entrance to this labyrinth where all the dark elder gods have been sealed away and imprisoned. And so here's just like one little hint of a scene that's not really a spoiler. So they're up there. They're in the edge of the solar system. It's like nobody has ever been out there before. And they go to like this nearby cometary fragment, this big chunk of ice, because you can take the ice and use it to make water and oxygen and rocket fuel and everything. So they go over there to extract a bunch of ice to use for their purposes. And they land on this comet that, again, has been on the edge of the solar system and nobody's ever been out there. And they find this gigantic ice temple with the figure of Cthulhu carved inside it, sitting on the comet and looking toward the wormhole.
Nope. Walk away. Walk away.
So that'll give you, if that doesn't give you a chill, it just kind of gave me a chill just describing it. So great stuff. It's definitely my most suspenseful thing that I've ever written. It just once things start going, it just really, really gets rolling. And I write all these popular things, the Dune stuff, the Star Wars stuff, and critics don't tend to notice those because fans are going to read them anyway. They want like more literary stuff. But I've been getting, it's credible in reviews, like Library Journal and Book List, and yesterday the New York Times came out of it, and Locus magazine called it the very definition of cosmic horror. So
ooh, that's awesome.
So if you want to read a 350-page definition, it's right there. And
I will say, as we segue into Kickstarter talk, one of the first Kickstarters I backed for you, you did an add-on which was the mystery box. So Kevin's got a lot of great add-ons, and one of them is that you can have 12 random books from Kevin's shelves, from his house. And I was like, that's kind of cool. Like, and they're all Kevin books, and like, what'll you get? And
well, I've got tons of leftover books, and I want to get them in the hands of somebody who wants them. So that's great.
So I read one, and maybe you can help me with the title because I'm really bad at remembering those. But it was the one where the nuclear power plant that is then the nuclear weapons.
Oh, I think it's Fallout is what.
Yeah. So they go down
storage.
Yeah, they go down to find, like, check out, like, is this going to work for nuclear storage? And they have this whole plan, and they get trapped down there, and all this kind of, like, the old military, like, ways to stop people from being in there go off. And it's it was really interesting to me because when I picked it up and read it, I was like, all right, like, military, like old military bunker and nuclear waste and stuff like that. Like, not my usual type that I read. And I was like flipping the pages and like staying up way too late to read. So it's a good read. So
Yeah, that one's actually called Kill Zone, and we describe that it's the Poseidon adventure, but in a nuclear waste thing. So it's like inside a mountain with all these interfaces and interlocks and safety things because they don't want terrorists to get the nuclear like power rods and stuff. But these people are trapped down there when like a glitch happens and it sets off all the perimeter systems, and so they have to get out. Anyway,
it was cool.
That actually might be one of the books that I keep putting into the mystery box, because I do have I got like an extra box of them way back when it first came out.
I like that one a lot. And then the Kickstarter that I had actually backed was Dragon Business.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of getting us segued into the comedy writing that you've done.
Can I put a pause for just a second? Because I know we could. If I share screen, can they see it? Because I've got this awesome movie video trailer for Nether Station.
They can't, but I might, if you send it to me, the link to me, I might be able to coordinate something.
Well, I will send you the file. Would that work, or can
That'll
you not?
Work. Yeah.
Okay, let me indulge us for just a minute. I promise you it'll be worth it.
Well,
so,
while he's sending me that, so Dragon Business, and it was into the what's the other book? Skeleton in the Closet.
Skeleton in the Closet. So that's like, it's also funny stuff. It's like The Princess Bride meets Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's funny. It's Dragon Business is it's like a gang of medieval con men that sell their services as dragon slayers, but there's no dragon. They like put fake footprints around and burn down some peasant houses, and then they go to the king, say, "Hey king, you got a dragon problem. We'll solve it for you for 100 gold pieces." And they've got like this taxidermy, a bunch of crocodile heads that have been stuffed. They go, "Here's the dragon, we killed it."
It was a really fun read.
Then of course there is a dragon. So you should have the video by now. So this is Blackstone did this, and it is a really, really good, like a 30-second video trailer for Nether Station, and better than anything that I could have done. So kind of gives you the real vibe for it.
It'll give me a minute to coordinate this with the streaming platform.
So I did. We'll talk about Dan Shamble in just a minute, but the one that just launched this morning is my 5th Kickstarter, I think, in the last 3 years. So I don't do a lot of them. It's not like I'm not like Catalyst with one every 38 hours or something.
Like that. He's coming at us, guys. He's coming at us. You're not wrong.
I just can't imagine just the work on it. In fact, here I'll talk about while you're busy, because you were giving people in the news about how the address labels have been printed and the boxes and the shipping and stuff. And I just want to tell you guys, like, don't underestimate the enormous amount of work that this is just to fulfill all the stuff that you do. I mean, I had a really a big one about 6 months ago, which was a 7-volume set of my collected short stories. And that one was my most successful campaign ever until this one today, which you guys are going to all back. But that was 7 hardcovers, and we had like 900 backers, and so it ended up that we had to mail out like 2,300 hardcover books and get them printed, and of course people wanted the 3 fantasy books or the 3 science fiction books or the 2 horror books, and you had to set it. I mean, just this organization of setting it all up. And then I know as consumers you get all kind of cringy when it says shipping and handling. You go, wait, the postage was only $5. Why are they charging me $7? Well, just think about buying 1,500 flat boxes that these things have to go in. And we went through 3 cases of the shipping tape and 5 rolls, like giant like bales of the bubble wrap that we had to wrap around all the books, and I had to pay like 8 people to come over to have these big Kickstarter mailing bashes that we did
You can
and
also
stuff.
see
So
pictures
there's
of those on Kevin's socials.
yeah,
So.
yeah, I've been posting those. So that one, if you're doing a tiny Kickstarter when you're mailing out 100 of them, you might not notice the difference, but it really starts to add up when you're getting to be a big campaign, because there's a lot of extra work that you don't want to underestimate. So
Well, I've got
you
the
got it.
file queued.
All right.
So I'm going to take us back over to the video screen, so you won't see us or hear us for a quick minute, and then we'll
Like
be right
30
back.
seconds.
That's cool.
There you go. That's why I wanted you to see it, because they did a really good job, and I could talk about it, but now you just see how cool it is.
That's awesome.
And you see what $10 to some of my author friends will do, those great quotes that they gave us. So
Right?
anyway, Nether Station just came out today, and it's great cosmic horror. I think you'll like it.
Wordfireshop.com. Check that out. But let's switch on over to the Kickstarter, which is for the Dan Shamble Zombie PI Apocalypse. Tell us about it.
Yeah, we got a big. So I'm gonna back up. About 10 or 11 years ago, I came up with this series that Dan Shamble Zombie PI, which I mean, I'm a zombie apocalypse guy. I watched all The Walking Dead. We watched World War Z, and it was like one of those weeks when yet another week when one of your beloved main characters in The Walking Dead just got killed and munched, and my wife and I were sitting there. I just said, why do zombie things always have to be depressing? I think it's time for Spaceballs. And I came up with this zombie detective, and it's the whole setup that it was this weird, it was the alignment of planets, and that happened once in a zillion years, and it was a full moon on the spring equinox, and Virgin's blood was spilled on the original Necronomicon. And well, the Virgin was a 50-year-old librarian who did a paper cut when she was trying to shelve it away, but it was still Virgin's blood on the Necronomicon. And that caused this cosmic event that brought back all of the legendary monsters and ghosts and werewolves and mummies and everything. And after a little bit of uproar, they realized that, monsters and unnaturals just kind of want to live their own lives like everybody else. And so they moved to what's called the unnatural quarter. And they're not just monsters out to kill people all the time, that they're monster accountants, and they run restaurants. There's a ghoul that has a diner and all this stuff. And Dan Shamble is just a private investigator and human, and he works solving like missing persons cases, and werewolves get divorced too, and one of the werewolves is trying to get out of her prenup because her husband is no longer the man she married, because he turns into a werewolf every month. And there's a vampire who needs protection because he's terrified, and he sees pointed wooden things all over the place and thinks people are trying to kill him. And there's a mummy who's suing for, he wants to be emancipated from the museum because he's a person, damn it, not property. And so it's all these ridiculous dad jokes and cases, and of course Dan and his beloved girlfriend, who's a nightclub singer at the Basilisk nightclub. She's the beautiful human who's singing in front of all the vampires. And well, she gets poisoned, and and dies, and Dan tries to solve her murder and investigates it. And then in the course of that, somebody comes up in a dark alley and shoots him in the back of the head. And normally that would be the end of it, but she comes back as a ghost, and he's back as a zombie, and he's back from the dead and back on the case, and they're still working together, and they're still very much in love, although nobody can touch a ghost, and so it kind of makes the physical part
Aw.
difficult. But anyway, I love this series. I wrote the first one. I sent it to my agent, and he said, "Well, what's this? This is hilarious." I said, "Well, it's my new series." And he said, "Well, but Kevin Anderson can't write humorous horror." And I went, "Well, but you just told me it was hilarious." He said, "Yeah, but you can't write that. You write like big Dune books and stuff." I said, "Yeah, but I like this one." And like none of my regular publishers, no, we didn't talk about it. I have 24 million copies in print in 34 languages. And my publishers just didn't take it because they said, "Well, but Kevin Anderson doesn't write humorous horror." And so finally we sold it to another publisher, and they published the first three. But they they didn't do it really the way I wanted it. I wanted them out. These are fast, they're funny. Here's the first one, Death Warmed Over, and then we've got a slimy underbelly, and this was last year's Kickstarter, Bats in the Belfry. There are now 11 books in the series, but I wanted them out like every 6 months so that people could just read the next one, and they wanted to bring them out one every year and a half, and they charged $15 for the book, but then they charged $15 for the ebook. And I went, "Well, but that doesn't work." And anyway, the series didn't do as well as they expected or I expected. And eventually they did 4 books, but I wanted to keep it going. So I did a couple of story collections, and then I wrote and self-published a brand new book. But then somebody, a good friend of mine, Dean Wesley Smith, and also one of my big mentors, some guy named Lauren Coleman, who founded Catalyst Games,
Sounds like a
uh,
loser.
kind of said, Kickstarters are kind of a good way because the fans want this, even if the regular publishers don't get it. And I went, "A Kickstarter, really? That sounds like a lot of work. And isn't it just for like authors who can't make any money and they need to beg for money?" And they kind of set me straight and said, "No, no, no. A Kickstarter is like for people who want to get in on the ground floor, that they want to be at the backstage club, they want to get their special editions, or they want to get their books before anybody else." So I went, "Okay, we'll see if anybody wants a Dan Shamble book." So I ran a Kickstarter for it, and first Kickstarter I ever ran, it paid me 3 times what the other publisher was paying me. So I went, "Oh, okay, maybe this is the best way to do Dan Shamble." And then we did the Dragon business, and then I did last year's was, like I said, last year's was Bats in the Belfry, and then this year we wanted to go even bigger. So I have a brand new novel called Horn Dogs. Um, it's about unicorns and their pets because they have pet little dogs, just like your dog, Rem, in your lap, but they have a horn. They're called unidogs. And somebody has kidnapped a unicorn's pet dog, and they hire Dan Shamble to find the horn dog. And so he's on the search for horn dogs throughout the unnatural quarter, and he runs into the secret society of unicorns. And there's another storyline about an enchanted prince who just wants to be turned back into a frog because he fell in love with a frog when he was a frog, and he just wants his romance back. And there's a fairy godmother who is killing it on the home shopping channel with her new line of glass slippers. And so that's the Horn Dogs novel. But I didn't want to just do another Kickstarter for just another novel. So by this point, I had I think 8 Dan Shamble short stories that I had written for various anthologies and magazines and whatever. And so I also have a new story collection, which is called Stiffs and Stones, because Dan Shamble is a stiff detective and he's got stones. So that's Stiffs and Stones. And working with Catalyst Games, we've developed a Dan Shamble combat card game. It's Dan Shamble Adventures. It's in their storybook. What's it called?
Storybook
Adventures.
battles.
Storybook Battles.
Yeah.
So it's a card game that has all Dan Shamble good guys and bad guys in it, and we're still finishing up some of the artwork on that. So you can get the Dan Shamble card game, and the cover art, and I should have sent that to you too, but the cover art for Horn Dogs is this big, beautiful Dan Shamble with his gun drawn, and he's in a Mexican standoff with a unicorn pointing his horn at him. And so that artwork is great, and we made a jigsaw puzzle out of that. So it's called a Zombie PI Apocalypse campaign. So it's the new novel, a new story collection, the combat card game, and a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, if you don't use the link, if you just search Dan Shamble or Kevin J. Anderson, you'll be able to find it as well. I have to sneeze, and I'm trying to stop it.
Well, I'm talking anyway. So that's, we funded in 50 minutes this morning. It's been 4 hours, and we're getting close to double what our ask is, and we still got a few weeks left to go. So, obviously this guy is my passion. We've got lots and lots of interest in a Dan Shamble TV series. I've got a very well-known comedian who loves it and is taking it around. And yes, I could just stop there, but I feel compelled to say, don't ever believe anything when Hollywood tells you they're interested. They're all interested, but don't believe it until they actually start making something. So, so I have faith in it. It's a hilarious thing. These are full of dad jokes. But we've also got coffee mugs and pint glasses and all kinds of other fun stuff in there. Oh, and I'm a big audiobook reader. I listen to all my books as audiobooks. And the original publisher did the first 4 Dan Shamble books with their audio reader. And then I did a couple of the story collections, like I said, and we farmed out and got another contract audio reader. But then when I went back and listened to all through the ones that existed, I just wasn't very satisfied because they pronounce the names differently throughout different things. And the most frustrating part, like, these are full of dumb jokes. And a couple of the narrators didn't get the jokes. They just like walked right through the puns, and they didn't stop for the wah wah. And so I decided to go into the studio, and I went and re-recorded all of the Dan Shamble audios. And so that's one of the things. You can get the complete set of Dan Shamble audiobooks, get the complete set. For the Kickstarter, I am autographing all of the hardcovers. So anybody who orders hardcover copies will get them signed. And, this is my character. I really enjoy Dan Shamble and lots of fun stuff.
That's awesome. The passion project from an author is always exciting to get in on, because even no shade to Dune and Star Wars and everything else, but you're writing for someone else's IP, and so being able to be off leash because it's yours is pretty exciting.
I can do what I want, and I don't have to get approval for it. But just kind of I know your audience, the people who are here, are already full on. They know how Kickstarter works, and they're happy to go to Kickstarters and stuff. But I just want to emphasize that Kickstarter allows us to do our passion projects. That if this was me, and I was like the one publisher, they did 4 books in Dan Shamble and just decided to stop, I'd be literally dead in the water. I could not do a thing with it. Nobody else would pick up book 5 in a series.
Yeah.
And that just would not have happened. But it's because of Kickstarter that it's brought the zombie detective back from the grave. And I love it. So now every year I hope that I will just do another Dan Shamble book every year, and we'll fund it through Kickstarter, and then we'll just keep selling him on Amazon and wherever else, and kind of do this.
Well, and we talked in the past weeks that I've been on Newsday here and told you guys about Kevin's campaign that's coming up. We've talked about how Storybook Battles, the game that Catalyst is producing, is going to be you're going to be able to cross play with other stories. So let's say we did a Shadowrun version of Storybook Battles. You could have Dan Shamble and the good guys versus the mega corporations of Shadowrun and stuff like that. So it's all exchangeable for some fun cross-world promotion there.
I think the Dan Shamble is the first one Catalyst is doing as sort of an outside IP, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Because I think you got Alice in Wonderland and Peter Pan or something like that.
So those were what they were first. It was pitched to us as, but I'm not sure how we're going to be releasing those yet. There's a couple of different plans in the works for that.
Right.
Maybe tune into PAX Unplugged to learn more.
So I'm glad to be the guinea pig, and Dan Shamble. We've got mad scientists in there that love to experiment on things, and in fact, one of the whole storylines in book 3 called Hair Raising, that there was a bodybuilding competition, but it was mad scientists who were building Frankenstein monsters, and that was their bodybuilding competition, and whoever got theirs built first and reanimated got to win the competition.
I physically
Of
hurt.
course, of course. It goes on and on and on, and it's like the once they started working on this, I mean, the jokes just kept rolling out, and so Dan Shamble, his best human friend, his BHF, is a police a cop who walks the beat in the unnatural quarter, and he's human, and he got assigned there because he kept telling politically incorrect jokes and got him in trouble. So he got transferred to the unnatural quarter because he can make politically incorrect jokes about monsters and nobody cares. And so he's just full of these stupid jokes. And I reach out to my fans on social media going, I need some more stupid Dan Shamble jokes. So I get flooded with these.
That's awesome.
You know, my favorite one is what goes ha 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 thump. A zombie laughing his head off. You're laughing. Come on, you're laughing.
It hurts.
That is the caliber of the humor that we're talking about here. It's very, very subtle and cerebral.
All right, we're gonna switch over to questions from the chat.
All right.
All right. Ozzy Sturm asked, Kevin, with writing in an already established universe like Dune, Star Wars, etc., how much interaction do you do reaching out to other authors or creators of the universe?
Well, with the Star Wars stuff was kind of that was my first big one, and Timothy Zahn had done his Thrawn trilogy, and then I was next. So we were like early on, and I was plotting mine to take place like a year after his. And so as I'm plotting mine, Tim was writing his third one, and so I said, "Hey Tim, could you throw this line in your book to set it up for my book?"
Ooh.
And he did. So there's stuff in The Last Command that sets up for mine. And then I was also working on the writing on Tales of the Jedi comics and building those. So those comic characters got put into my novels, and we had this slowly growing pool of authors who were working together in the Star Wars universe, and we had this furious conversation and correspondence of, hey, I'm doing this, can I? And so we kind of all kept it as a tight little fan club, and we loved it. And then, I mean, at the time, Lucasfilm they didn't really have this whole group of people that were watching details for canon. We had to babysit ourselves. And I remember one time Lucasfilm asked one writer wanted to, there's something called the Jedi Holocron. It's like a database that they found in those old Masasi temple ruins. And I had them find it in my books, and it was used as a database. And this one author wanted to destroy it. And so Lucasfilm wrote me and said, Kevin, this author wants to destroy the Jedi Holocron. Can he do that? And I said, sure, we'll just find another one if we need it. So that was how we interacted there. Now for Dune, it's just me and Brian Herbert. I mean, that what we have is Frank Herbert's novels. We've got like thousands of pages of his own notes and chapters and things, and we've kind of used all of those, and we've expanded from there, and we've built on those. And so it's me and Brian that we're constantly talking about how we're developing things. And you know, that's kind of nice that we don't need to get approval at the end of it, that it's based on our own research in the universe. But I like it much better when there is interaction with the other authors, because it's a shared universe where we're all playing in it. And I mean, I have done some other ones where it's like just me on an island writing this book, and I don't know who else is writing things. And but you know, it's a fun project. So getting to write books like that, it's kind of like a fanboy's dream. Like, you mean I get to make up Star Wars stories and get paid for it? Cool.
Yeah, right? Awesome. Ozzy Sturm also asks, what advice have you given to authors wishing to use your books as a reference to their novels or RPG?
I don't know if they mean like to inspire their own stuff or just to get writings. I mean, if you're reading my Dune books or Jedi Academy books or something like that, I mean, you can't write your own sequels to them. That's fan fiction, and Lucasfilm, well, I guess worse than Lucasfilm, Disney doesn't like it, so don't get them scared. But if you my writing style, I want to be utterly transparent. I want you to be reading a movie when you're turning the pages of the book. I don't want to show off how fancy a metaphor I can make, or how many times I can make you look up in the dictionary a word that you never heard of. That's just not my style. I want you to forget entirely that you're reading, that you should be so absorbed into the story that you forget the words. And I think clarity is better than fancy writing. So that's kind of my take on it.
Okay, cool. Mahi Mahi asks, Erasmus is such a great villain. No questions, just appreciation for a quality antagonist.
Uh, so Erasmus is sort of like our Dr. Mengele crossed with Pinocchio, that he's this thinking machine robot that really, really, really wants to be human, and he wants to understand humans. And if he has to dissect a million of them, he'll do it. And it's just he's kind of this naive charm to him, but he's the nastiest, most evil, vicious torturer. And it's just we loved that character, and hoping that the Dune TV show goes and enough other things so that you eventually maybe see that
That's awesome.
series of that. Nothing happening now. Don't get excited. We're just kind of hoping.
JOK asks, is there any franchise you'd like to write for?
Dan Shamble Zombie PI. I'd like that to be a huge movie series, and then I get to keep writing in it.
Yay!
I have been asked that a lot, and there are. I mean, I used to do this so much in the 90s, but the work in writing in franchises has kind of dwindled away. There used to be a paperback book for every single movie that came out, and they just don't do those anymore. And they don't do spin-off books very much. Batman is really interesting to me. And I did one Batman book for DC Comics, and I loved it, called Enemies and Allies.
Ooh.
And Batman as a character is just very fascinating to me. Of course, there are millions of different versions of Batman. I would not do the Adam West version. Let's just say that. Prefer the darker ones, but
hot take.
Yeah. So, I've got my Dune work, and I've got the Dan Shamble stuff, and I am so busy right now, and I'm happy and getting lots of good stuff done.
Oh gosh, Lorcan asks. Lorcan is one of our mods. He's from Ireland, and let's just say he could be a character in your Dan Shamble series. Is the area around Nether Station a Nether region?
Yes, it is. Believe me, we make jokes about that all the time. We've got a wisecracking engineer, and she's just constantly, oh, we're going down your hole now, and
no!
We've reached the Nether regions now, and like it's all kinds of off color stuff. I mean, you can't call it Nether Station without making those jokes. So It's there. And they might get the taint if they go through the wrong direction.
Oh no!
It's not a comedy, unlike the Dan Shamble stuff. It's not, but we do have a loudmouth, wisecracking female engineer who's just kind of obnoxious all the time. And if anybody watches the Archer cartoon, she's like Pam. I mean, just as constantly in your face and loud, and
cool.
And she makes all the jokes.
JOK says it does sound a bit like Discworld for Dan Shamble. Any inspiration from there?
A little bit. I think Terry Pratchett they were laugh out loud, silly fantasies. And Jim Butcher is a really good friend of mine too. And like the Harry Dresden, those are very funny and amusing, but they are serious stories. And this is really kind of, there's a serious story in it, but it's really slapstick. And it's meant for dumb jokes. And, when you do something that silly, you can kind of do some social commentary and get away with it, because there's a vampire and a werewolf got married and they're getting kicked out of the neighborhood because they don't want mixed marriages in there. And
Oh my gosh.
there's a senator who thinks he should take away unnatural rights because they're not really humans, and they should not be able to. And there's another comment. I mean, I kind of cringe doing this, but I gotta put them in there. But there's one like, oh, you're just bringing all these monsters in so that you can shift the vote in the next election, and it's stuff like
Too
that
real.
you can get
Too
away
real.
with in stupid stuff, but it's still things that I maybe want to comment about. So anyway,
Mark Tassin asks, Amazon doesn't show book 4 in its series list for Dan Shamble. What's up with that?
I don't know. I wasn't aware of that till now. There should be 9 listed, because the next 2 are in the Kickstarter, so they're not there. But book 4 is Working Stiff. It should be Death Warmed Over, Unnatural Acts, Hair Raising, Working Stiff, Slimy Underbelly, Tastes Like Chicken, Services Rendered, Double Booked, and Bats in the Belfry.
Cool.
And then 2 more coming out with the Kickstarter. So,
Oh,
well, I mean,
he says in chat there are 9, but they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Well, this might be a shock, but Amazon sometimes makes mistakes.
What?
Well, I'm glad that they're all listed at least.
Well, we'll have to look into that. And then I know we're at 5:01 here, guys, so I do want to wrap it up. Let's see if there's any things quickly I can update that I haven't done recently on other episodes. Any update on when we'll see the premium Wolverine or premium Battlemaster on the Catalyst store? I'm actually going to copy and paste that question to Talon right now. There he is. Paste. Boop. Thank you for that. And I can get an answer hopefully soon. What else do I have? I have too many windows open is what I have. Let's see. Will the glittery laser cut dice from the Mercs Kickstarter be sold later? We will see. I'm not sure everything in terms of the swag that's going to be released just yet, but as we get close to finishing fulfillment, we'll definitely let you guys know. Trying to hurry. PAX Unplugged, this is what events and showcase can we expect when visiting? Surprises, lots of surprises. You should definitely come hang out. All right, I think that's everything that I can cover quickly. So thank you, Kevin, so much for being here and talking about the Kickstarter. I'll drop the link one more time if you want to say goodbye.
All right, awesome. We're really close to twice the asking point. So I hope you guys will join us, and I hope you'll just love Dan Shamble. It's a big kick for me, and I enjoy the series so much. So go for it. And thanks for having me on. And if you don't like to laugh, try another station.
Awesome.
Maybe that's not the right pitch, but okay.
If you don't like to laugh, try this. Oh, that's so good. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being here with us. Thank you, Kevin. Go support the Kickstarter. Check out all the add-ons. Make sure you get a Catalyst game along with your pledge. And we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.